So the 4% rule approach is always the most expensive way of going about making sure you have enough income in retirement. And let me just talk briefly about when I prefer to take money out of the LIRP. So I love the LIRP as sort of a volatility buffer in retirement. So in the year following a down year in the stock market, live out of your LIRP. What that does is it gives your stock market portfolio a chance to recover before you take further distributions. And that act alone will increase your sustainable withdrawal rate on that stock portfolio from 4 to as high as 8% with a 95% success rate. So the LIRP is so powerful because it allows you to grow the money safely and productively and then live out of it so that your stock market portfolio can recover before you take further distributions. And of course, when you figure in the guaranteed lifetime income annuities into the mix, that becomes a very powerful combination.
So Roth IRAs, generally speaking, they could be invested in things that are guaranteed like annuities, but they also could be in the stock market. Whereas the LIRP, we're traditionally using not only just a permanent life insurance policy, but one that's principal guaranteed, no market risk.
Right. So you could, in theory, lose money in a flat or down year in the market because you're still paying those expenses. Okay. But you're not going to lose money in the stock market.
Right.
So that's when we say safe and productive growth, we stand by that claim because you're not going to be hitting any home runs typically. You're not going to get the 25 to 30% growth typically, but you're not going to lose the 30%. And that's what makes it such a good volatility buffer.
Absolutely. And Paul, I know we've talked about that before, having two buckets, one like David just mentioned where, one where you're principal guaranteed, one that has market risk. When the market's down, take it from here. When the market's up, take it from over there. And you have these two different things working for you. And just like everything in general, it's not putting all our eggs in one basket. Your baskets are the taxable, tax deferred, tax free. You're going to have money in all of them. You can use them all to your advantage. And then also just diversifying, types of products, life insurance, what we invest in Roth IRAs and those kinds of things.
And I'd like to talk briefly about a recent study that came out from Ernst Young. You may be familiar with it. They basically said they studied all these different scenarios, all these different demographics, and they basically said they're looking for three things. Which combination of financial tools will give you the highest income, the highest likelihood that your money will last through life expectancy, and then allow you to pass the most money on to the next generation. And this is what they concluded for almost every age demographic. 30% of your money into cash value life insurance to serve as a volatility buffer, 30% into guaranteed lifetime income annuities, and then 30% in the stock market. That was the combination that improved all of those three areas the most. And so it's really powerful, and it's really important that you avail yourself of every financial tool in the toolbox.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, I love hearing things like that. I appreciate, you, Ed Slott, Tom Magdal, the academics is behind this sort of approach. It's amazing to me because like the mainstream media, the mainstream, Wall Street, they don't talk about, they didn't say what you just said. They basically everything needs to be in the stock market. We know more than everybody else knows. We can beat the market. You keep all your money invested in things that we can't control, in volatile, markets, and it's just going to do what it always does. That seems to get the most headlines. And if you say anything like you just said, even though it's backed by Ernst Young and the research, it's like, well, wait a minute, life insurance, annuities, why isn't that like front and center?
Yeah, I mean, Ken Fisher is, he's bristling even at the mention of annuities or life insurance. And so, I mean, if you think about the Ken Fisher way or the traditional mainstream approach, the most you can take out of your portfolio is 4%. So you got $1 million, you can take out $40,000 per year adjusted for inflation every year thereafter. And by availing yourself of these other tools, you can sort of shed the shackles of the 4% rule. You can start taking much higher rates. And so the 4% rule approach is always the most expensive way of going about making sure you have enough income in retirement.
Absolutely. And what I find interesting over the years is just even as a student of the industry, I'm looking at these things objectively. What you find is that, like you mentioned several research things. The documentary that you have goes into detail on this. The academics all seem to say what you just said, and that is, hey, you should have some money in life insurance, cash value life insurance, some in guaranteed income, some in the stock market. There's an all and approach, not either or. And it seems like in the industry, the media, all the major financial, television shows, CNBC, they're not going to talk about this today. The major financial magazines are not going to talk like this, even though if you go to college, if you go to universities, if you talk to the people doing all the research studies, Wade Pfau, And these outstanding academic people that all they do is study this all day, every day, they're saying you should use these different techniques. It's surprising that it hasn't even caught on more than it has. A guy like you writes a book called The Power of Zero, and it seems like you're a unicorn. I mean, that can't be possible because no one really talks about it. Or some of these products.
Yeah, and I wrote a whole book on why America's financial gurus don't talk about it.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
It's called The Guru Gap. And basically what I concluded after taking a deep dive into all of their writings and their podcasts and YouTubes, and I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours researching what they've said about these things. And to a person, Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, they all have this pathological hatred for cash value, life insurance, and annuities, and there's no real good reason for why. Basically, what I sort of concluded was that they have to put everything in 10-second sound bites. They have to distill very important, complicated concepts into little 10-second sound bites that are easily digestible by mainstream America. And you just don't have the luxury of nuance when you have to capture these important concepts. So it's just much easier to say, don't do it. Do the 4% rule, or if you're Dave Ramsey, he calls it the 8% rule, which is there's no mathematical justification for that. But really, the PhDs are going to win the day on this one because they have done the math. There's reams of academic literature that demonstrates the value of having a broad, diversified approach that avails you of all the tools.
Right. I totally agree with that. I appreciate what you're saying. It seems easy just to do the sound bites, easy to say, do what's mainstream. It does take a little bit of effort and work to understand some of these products. They're not simple, but they're valuable. So it's worth the time that someone might take to make sure they understand how it works. Instead of just saying, well, no, the insurance companies are going to rip you off and all this kind of stuff. Well, no, these life insurance companies are around for hundreds of years. There's a reason they're still there, and they've stood the test of time. Yeah,
I mean, take the Dave Ramsey approach. I mean, talk about easy to remember. You can remember it's just put 100% of your money in stocks and let it ride. That's all you get. That's his retirement plan. That's it. There's nothing else. But guess what? A good, solid, broad, diversified plan is so much more nuanced for that. And it's got to be customized and tailored and fit your tailored to your needs. And so you just can't do that unless you're availing yourself of the full financial toolbox.
Totally agree. And people need to take the time to understand these things. And that's what our job is to do, obviously, to educate people. And it is more of an education because we're going up against a massive industry where they're incentivized to keep people locked into the stock market only. This is your only approach. It's the only way to make wealth. It's the only way to make it work for you. But there's these other products that we've been thankfully dealing with for a long time here with guaranteed lifetime income with annuities, but also life insurance retirement plans. Index universal life and these, guaranteed type products that are, that provide tax-free income. And so the difficult part sometimes, Paul, is explaining it because it is not mainstream. Number one, there are some complications to it, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't. Everyone needs to do what David has done over his career, what we have done. And that is say, hey, no, I need to be open-minded. I need to look at this. I need to understand what this is to make sure I'm making the right decision for me, not what Ken Fisher says or Dave Ramsey or anybody else says that's what I should be doing. Look at it yourself. Take the time to understand. And then when you do, you are going to feel good about it. We've had a lot of clients here that have protected their income stream, both now and in the future. You talk about massive peace of mind. And I know Tom Heck. Tom has the study out there about people that they tend to live longer, they tend to be happier. I mean, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, people are happier, they're living longer if they have a guaranteed source of income,
and they spend more. Remember, this is a huge study that came out recently. It said people spend twice as much money when they have guaranteed lifetime income. Because if all your money's in the stock market, what's your greatest fear? Your greatest fear is you're going to run out of money before you run out of life. And so people, it's like Tom Hegna says, you protect. And then what happens? You don't spend any of your money. And then what happens? You say, I'm not going to get the country club. I'm not going to travel around the world. I'm not going to get the boat on the weekends. And so then your kids inherited all your money. What do? They get the country club membership. They go on the trip around the world. They get the boat on the weekends. So it's it's you spend twice as much money when you have guaranteed lifetime income than you don't, because people are just too afraid to spend it and lose it. And
then you have life insurance, like you said, and you've got not only is the worst case scenario is you never took any money out for yourself, but your kids and family are going to inherit this death benefit, 100% income tax free. There is nothing better. I always tell our clients, there is nothing better to inherit than life insurance. I mean, you talk about tax-free, 100% income tax-free. You can do whatever you want with it. And so to have that tool in the toolbox that could also pay for long-term care, where you eliminate this whole idea of a wasted premium because that money is coming back, and then actually building cash value that you could access, from the insurance company tax-free.
There's a reason Ed Slott said that the single greatest tax benefit in the IRS tax code is that it's basically the income tax exclusion for cash value life insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put as much money as you want in. You can get as much within a range based on your net worth and age and things like that. But the point is, you can put all this money in there, and there's no real IRS limits on how much you put in, and then it can all go tax free to to your heirs. I mean, there's nothing else like it in the tax code.
Yeah. It's very interesting. 7702 and tax code. But then what's interesting to me sometimes is, like, again, they keep like mainstream America in the dark. It's like, if you're a congressman, if you're a senator, you probably have cash value life insurance. If you're in the know, if you're an academic, you're a mathematician, you're somebody who kind of has knowledge. If you're extremely wealthy, you probably have cash value. It just seems like the people that are using that tool are the ones who get it, and they kind of keep everybody else in the dark.
Right, and then you have the folks on TikTok that aren't doing any of us a service by saying that it is the panacea, it's a silver bullet, it's a single,
right,
and that all the wealthy people are using it, and it's the one thing that you don't know about. But it's not. It's not a silver bullet. It is. It has a context.
That's right.
It has an application, and it only really works when used in concert with all of these other streams of tax-free income. And so the neither extreme is true. The truth is somewhere in that golden mean, somewhere in the middle, and it's just got to be used prudently and,
absolutely.
like I said, in concert with your other tax-free investments.
Absolutely. And that's why we appreciate your approach. We totally agree. I mean, have Roth IRAs, have money in the market, have money in the bank, have money in annuities, have money in life insurance, spread it out. Each one of them has a strength. Some of them have disadvantages, some of them have advantages, but use them all together, and you've kind of got a great plan. And so what I appreciate about zero taxes in retirement, it sounds aspirational. It sounds like hypothetical, but it actually is realistic.
Yeah, I mean,
for people.
This is what you do. You meet with an expert like you.
Yeah.
You lay out a roadmap, and then you systematically execute on that roadmap.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get to the 0% tax bracket overnight. I mean, you could. You probably pay a lot of unnecessary tax along the way, but you stretch that tax obligation out over a number of years, and you can get to the 0% tax bracket eventually. And hopefully, you do it before tax rates double or rise dramatically.